Hello everyone, I am Dr. Deepa. Today we will learn about the anterior compartment of the forearm. The anterior compartment of the forearm, which is also called as the flexor compartment or simply the front of the forearm. This anterior compartment of the forearm represents the muscles, nerves and the vessels. The forearm as a whole is divided into two compartments, that is anterior and the posterior compartments. Yes, it is divided into two compartments, that is anterior and the posterior compartment by a septate which is called as the medial and the lateral intermuscular septate. The medial and the lateral intermuscular septae divide the entire forearm into anterior and the posterior compartment. Each compartment represents certain set of muscles, nerves and the vessels. So that part of the forearm which lies along the anterior surface of the radius and ulna, which are the long bones of the forearm, the muscles or the area of the forearm which lie in front of the anterior surface of the interosseous membrane which connect the radius and the ulna make up the anterior compartment. So the muscles of the anterior compartment in total are 8 in number. There are 8 muscles in the anterior compartment as a whole. Out of these 8 muscles, they are categorized into two groups based on their arrangement. Yes, the 8 muscles of the anterior compartment are divided into superficial group of muscles and the deep group of muscles. Superficial group of muscles and the deep group of muscles. So superficial group of muscles are 5 in number, whereas deep group of muscles are in total 3. So the 5 superficial muscles of the anterior compartment are arranged from lateral to medial. Yes, the 5 superficial muscles of the anterior compartment from lateral to medial are: most laterally lies the presence of the muscle called as the pronator teres. Just medial to pronator teres comes the flexor carpi radialis. Medial to flexor carpi radialis is the palmaris longus. Then comes the flexor digitorum superficialis, and the medial most muscle is the flexor carpi ulnaris. So these are the 5 superficial muscles of the anterior compartment. So among the 5 superficial muscle, the lateral most is the pronator teres and the medial most muscle is the flexor carpi ulnaris. The deep muscles are, as I said you, 3 in number. The 3 deep muscles are the flexor pollicis longus, flexor digitorum profundus, and the deepest muscle of all is the pronator quadratus. So these are the 3 deep muscles. So there is something called as the common flexor origin. This common flexor origin is nothing but the point on the medial epicondyle of the humerus. It is the area on the medial epicondyle of the humerus. Yes, medial epicondyle of the humerus, which gives attachment to all the superficial flexor muscles, which give origin to all the superficial flexor muscles of the forearm. The superficial muscles of the anterior compartment has got a common origin, that is from the medial epicondyle of the humerus. So we can see here all the muscles of the anterior compartment take origin from this point of the bone. So we will learn about the muscles one by one. Here seen, that is the pronator teres, flexor carpi radialis, flexor digitorum superficialis, the palmaris longus, and the medialmost muscle, that is the flexor carpi ulnaris. Moving on to the very first muscle, that is the lateralmost muscle here, pronator teres. Here we can see the muscles arranged in different layers. As I have already told that the 5 muscles, that is the 4 superficial muscles and the one bulky muscle, that is flexor digitorum superficialis, here as it is seen, The first layer of muscles are these four, that is pronator teres, flexor carpi radialis, the palmaris longus and the flexor carpi ulnaris. Deep to this plane of muscles lies the flexor digitorum superficialis, which make up the second layer of muscles. Now, deep to this flexor digitorum superficialis comes the two deep muscle, that is the flexor pollicis longus on the lateral side and the flexor digitorum superficialis, the flexor digitorum profundus on the medial side. The deepest of all is the pronator quadratus. So this is how the arrangement of the muscle is. So here the first and the second layer make up the superficial group of muscle, whereas the third and the fourth layer make up the deep group of muscles. Moving on to the very first and the lateralmost muscle of the superficial group, that is pronator teres. Regarding the attachments of the pronator teres, the origin of the pronator teres is mainly from the two heads, that is the superficial and the deep head. This superficial head takes its origin from the medial epicondyle of the humerus, which I have told you as the common flexor origin. So superficial origin is from the medial epicondyle of the humerus, whereas the deep head takes its origin from the coronoid process of the ulna, that is the medial margin of the coronoid process. Yes, that is why the deep head is also called as the ulnar head. So this is about the origin of the muscle. This muscle descends downwards and laterally to get inserted onto the middle 1/3 of the lateral surface of the radius. So this is about the attachment of the muscle pronator teres. As the name itself says, pronator teres, this pronator teres is the weak flexor of the elbow and it is mainly involved in the pronation of the forearm. So the pronation of the forearm is mainly contributed by the muscle pronator teres. This pronator teres muscle needs a special mention as this muscle makes up one of the boundary of the cuboidal fossa, that is the medial boundary. So this is about the muscle, lateralmost muscle in the superficial group, that is the pronator teres. Moving on to the second muscle, which is called as the flexor carpi radialis. Yes, this flexor carpi radialis takes its origin from the common flexor origin, that is on the medial epicondyle of the humerus, descends straight down in the anterior compartment, crosses the wrist joint to get inserted onto the palmar surface of the base of the second and third metacarpals. The insertion of this flexor carpi radialis is onto the palmar surface of the base of the second and third metacarpal. So this is about the attachment of the muscle flexor carpi radialis. This flexor carpi radialis, as we see the muscle crossing two joints, that is the elbow joint and the wrist joint, is mainly involved in the flexion of the wrist and the forearm. Moving on to the next muscle, which is the palmaris longus. This palmaris longus is the most superficial muscle in the anterior group. Origin is the same, that is the common flexor origin, descends down here, the muscle descends down, crosses the wrist joint by passing above the retinaculum, that is the flexor retinaculum, and reaches the palm. So in the palm, this palmar longus spreads out to make up the aponeurosis, which is called as the palmar aponeurosis. So it ends by forming the palmar aponeurosis. So this is the fate of the palmaris longus. The palmaris longus acts as a weak flexor of the forearm. The next comes the medialmost muscle in the superficial group, that is the flexor carpi ulnaris. The origin of the flexor carpi ulnaris is from the two heads, that is the humeral head and the ulnar head. The humeral head takes origin from the common flexor origin, that is the medial epicondyle of the humerus, whereas the ulnar head takes its origin from the medial margin of olecranon process of the ulna, and also from the upper two-third of the posterior border of the ulna through the common aponeurosis. Yes, there is a common aponeurosis which is attached over the posterior border of the ulna. This aponeurosis gives attachment to two muscles. Number one is, as we are discussing now, the flexor carpi ulnaris, and the second is the flexor digitorum profundus, which will be discussed later. So these are the two muscles which has the common origin from the common aponeurosis which is attached over the posterior border of the ulna. So this is about the origin of the flexor carpi ulnaris. Insertion of this muscle passes through the wrist joint, primarily inserted onto the pisiform bone, and through the ligaments, that is pisohamate and pisometacarpal ligament, the muscle is seen to be attached to the base of the fifth metacarpal bone, the palmar surface of the base of the fifth metacarpal bone. So this is about the insertion of the muscle, that is the flexor carpi ulnaris. The ulnaris, which is the medialmost muscle in the superficial group, is mainly involved in the flexion of the forearm along with the adduction of the forearm. Here comes the bulkiest muscle in the superficial group, that is the flexor digitorum superficialis. The flexor digitorum superficialis mainly takes its origin from almost all the three long bones, that is the humerus here, the radius and the ulna. So the origin of this flexor digitorum superficialis is from the humerus, the radius and the ulna. So the humeral head of this flexor digitorum superficialis is from the common flexor origin, that is the medial epicondyle of the humerus, and also from the medial collateral ligament. The ulnar head is from the medial margin of the coronoid process of the ulna. Yes, the origin of the ulnar head of this flexor digitorum superficialis is from the medial margin of the coronoid process. So, the medial margin of the coronoid process gives attachments to two muscle, that is the pronator teres and the flexor digitorum superficialis, that is the ulnar head of the flexor digitorum superficialis. So the coronoid process, the medial margin of the coronoid process takes the attachment of the origin of the pronator teres and the flexor digitorum superficialis. So this is the point to remember over here. The radial head takes its origin from the anterior oblique line of the radius. So this is about the three heads of the flexor digitorum superficialis. This muscle from its origin descends down, and at the level of the wrist, that is just above the wrist, the tendinous muscle divides into four tendons. It divides into four tendons for the medial four digits. Each tendon passes through the corresponding digit, where at the level of the base of the proximal phalanx, each tendon divides into two slips and crosses the proximal interphalangeal joint and tends to get inserted on either side of the middle phalanx. So the ultimate insertion of the flexor digitorum superficialis is over the middle phalanges of the fingers, middle phalanges of the corresponding fingers. So this is about the attachment of the muscle flexor digitorum superficialis. So as the muscle is seen crossing the wrist joint, it is seen crossing the metacarpophalangeal joints, it is also crossing the interphalangeal joints. So this muscle brings about flexion of all the corresponding muscles, that is the flexion of wrist joint, flexion of metacarpophalangeal joint, and the flexion of interphalangeal joints, that is the proximal interphalangeal joint. So this was about the 5 superficial group of muscle. Now next we will discuss about the 3 deep muscle. So the deep muscles are the flexor pollicis longus, flexor digitorum profundus, and the pronator quadratus. So to begin with, the attachment of the flexor pollicis longus over here. The flexor pollicis longus takes its origin from almost the major portion of the shaft of the radius over here. Yes, the origin of the flexor pollicis longus is from the upper two-third of the anterior surface as well as the medial surface of the radius and below the anterior oblique line along with the adjoining interosseous membrane. So the upper two-third of the anterior surface of the radius mainly gives the attachment to the origin of flexor pollicis longus muscle. This muscle descends down to reach the base of the distal phalanx of the thumb to make its insertion. So the insertion of the flexor pollicis longus is over the base of the distal phalanx of the thumb. The second deep muscle, that is the flexor digitorum profundus. This flexor digitorum profundus is seen immediately deep to the flexor digitorum superficialis. The origin of this profundus muscle is mainly contributed by the shaft of the ulna. The origin is from the medial surface of the olecranon and the coronoid process of the ulna. The origin is from the upper through 3/4 of the anterior and the medial surface of the shaft of the ulna along with the adjoining interosseous membrane, and also the contribution is from the upper 3/4 of the posterior border of ulna. Yes, so this is about the origin of the flexor digitorum profundus. Here, the posterior border of the ulna also gives attachment to the flexor carpi ulnaris through the common aponeurosis, as I have already discussed before. The insertion of this flexor digitorum profundus is into the distal phalanx of the corresponding digit, as this muscle divides into 4 tendons for the corresponding medial 4 digits. Each tendon crosses the respective joint to ultimately reach the base of the distal phalanges of the medial 4 fingers. So this is about the muscle flexor digitorum profundus. The flexor digitorum profundus is involved in the flexion of the wrist joint. It brings about the flexion of the metacarpophalangeal joints along with the proximal and the distal interphalangeal joints as well. Moving on to the deepest muscle in the anterior compartment, that is the pronator quadratus. Yes, this diagram showing the attachment of the muscle pronator quadratus, which is deepest of all the muscle, occupying the lower 1/4 of the forearm just above the wrist joint. The origin of this muscle is from the ulna to the radius. So origin is mainly from the lower 1/4 of the anterior surface of the ulna. The muscle fibers run horizontally to reach the anterior surface of the radius on the lateral side. So the insertion is over the lower 1/4 of the anterior surface of the radius, whereas the deep fibers of the pronator quadratus are seen attached to the surface of the shaft of the radius above the radial notch. So this is about the attachment of the muscle pronator quadratus. The pronator quadratus mainly brings about the pronation of the forearm. So the attachment of the pronator quadratus is mainly restricted to the lower 1/4 of the forearm, where the origin is from the anterior surface of the lower 1/4 of the ulna, runs horizontally laterally to reach the anterior surface of the lower 1/4 of the radius. Only the deep fibers are seen attached to the part of the shaft above the ulnar notch of the radius. So this is about the attachment of the muscle pronator quadratus. So this is in detail about the attachments of all the muscles of the anterior group, that is 5 superficial and 3 deep muscles. Regarding the nerve supply and the vascular supply, the blood supply of this anterior compartment, all the muscles of the anterior compartment is mainly supplied by the branches of the median nerve, except the muscle, that is flexor carpi ulnaris, and the medial half of flexor digitorum profundus. Yes, the flexor carpi ulnaris and the medial two tendons, that is the medial half of the flexor digitorum profundus, is supplied by the ulnar nerve, whereas rest of all the muscle is supplied by the median nerve. So the superficial muscles are supplied directly by the muscular branches of the median nerve, whereas the deep muscles, that is the pronator quadratus, flexor pollicis longus and flexor digitorum profundus, are supplied by the deep branch of the median nerve, which is the anterior interosseous nerve. So the median nerve gives one deep branch, which is called as the anterior interosseous nerve, which supplies the deep muscles of the forearm. So this is the anterior interosseous nerve given off by the median nerve supplying the deep muscles of the anterior compartment. So regarding the blood supply of the anterior compartment, the blood supply is arterial supply is mainly by the branches of the radial and the ulnar artery. So the radial artery is the radial and the ulnar artery, as we have already seen that it is the terminal branches of the brachial artery in the cuboidal fossa. The radial artery is almost superficial throughout its course, whereas the ulnar artery runs deep to the deep head of the pronator teres and supplies the structures over there. So this is the atlas view where we can make out the ulnar nerve accompanied by the ulnar artery. So this is the radial cut end of the radial artery, which is usually superficial throughout its extent. So here this is the diagrammatic view showing the nerves and vessels of the anterior compartment. As I've already told you, on most of the muscles of the anterior compartment supplied by the branches of the median nerve, except the flexor carpi ulnaris and the medial half of the flexor digitorum profundus, the medial two tendons of flexor digitorum profundus, which are supplied by the ulnar nerve. The deep muscles are supplied by the deep branch of the median nerve, that is the anterior interosseous nerve. So these are the nerves which are seen in the anterior compartment. As we have already discussed, the ulnar nerve along the medial border, the radial nerve, the superficial branch of the radial nerve along the radial border, that is the lateral border, and accompanied by the corresponding vessels over there. So this is the deep picture where only the interosseous vessels are seen. The interosseous membrane is anteriorly related to the nerves and vessels supplying the corresponding structure, that is the anterior interosseous nerve and the anterior interosseous artery. The anterior interosseous nerve, as I have already told, is nothing but the deep branch of the median nerve, whereas the anterior interosseous artery is the branch of the common interosseous artery, which is in turn the branch of the ulnar artery. Yes, the anterior interosseous artery is mainly coming from the ulnar artery indirectly through common interosseous artery. So this is about the nerve and vessels which supply the deep muscles. So this was the end of the video showing the anterior compartment of the forearm, where we have studied the muscles, nerves and the vessels supplying the anterior compartment along with the actions. Thank you so much.